Mary Bell, the story of the 11-year-old serial killer. Mary Flora Bell was born on May 26, 1957 in Newcastle, England. She lived on the west side of Newcastle in an extremely poor area called Scotswood. This was a small community of working-class people, one of those towns where everybody knows everybody. Daughter of Betty, a woman who prostituted herself by profession, while her father has remained unknown to this day. A few months after the birth of her daughter, Betty married Billy Bell, a criminal with a history as a thief, who served as father for Mary. Newcastle was a rather violent and high crime rate area at that time, and Mary soon began to behave very aggressively, vandalizing and beating up classmates. On May 25, 1968, on the eve of her 11th birthday, Mary was with her friend Norma Jean Bell. The two decided to set a trap for Martin Brown, the son of a neighbor, who was only 4 years old. They attracted him with the excuse of giving him candies, took him to an abandoned house nearby, and then Mary strangled him to death. The parents of the child, not seeing him return, called the police and the body was found the next day. The case was dismissed as an accident, as there were no obvious signs on the child's body that suggested an attack. After 3 weeks, something unusual happened in Martin's kindergarten. Someone had sneaked inside and had carried out vandalism. They overturned classrooms, destroyed chairs, and on the walls they wrote that Martin had been murdered. The police investigated, but in the end the case was closed, stating that it is an episode of vandalism, without ulterior motives. On July 31, 1968, Mary and Norma decided to strike again and they targeted Brian Howe, a 3-year-old boy. Like the previous murder, he is lured with the excuse of a candy and was later strangled. But this time they went further. They engraved an M, presumably for Mary, with scissors on the chest of the boy. They cut his hair and his genitals, leaving the corpse on a field. The body was found on the same day by the police, and the police suspected that the murder was committed by a pedophile. Subsequently, the case was linked to Martin's death, and the hypothesis of a serial killer begins to take place. About 1,200 children from the neighborhood were questioned and 2 girls aroused particular suspicions, and they were Mary Bell and Norma Jean Bell. Their responses did not convince the investigators, and under the pressure of the interrogation Mary admitted that she was responsible for both murders. In August 1968, the two were arrested. Mary was found guilty, while Norma was acquitted as she was considered an inactive spectator of the killings. Mary declared that Norma had lied and that she had been actively involved, but the investigators did not believe her statements. On December 17, 1968, Mary Bell was sentenced to life in prison. Mary remained in prison until 1980, and after several psychiatric treatments during her detention period, she was declared healed. She was thus released and granted a new identity. In 1984 she had a daughter, until their identity was discovered by a reporter, forcing them to flee. In 2001, Bell won a battle in the High Court to keep her anonymity and her daughter's anonymity for life, something that later was updated to include Bell's granddaughter as well. No one is 100% sure where Bell is now. The story of Mary Bell has remained etched in the common imagination as the case of the youngest killer in the United Kingdom, capable of atrocious and terrible acts at just 11 years of age, acts which have broken the lives of young and innocent victims.